Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Freedom Network. We're really happy that you joined us today. Have a great show planned for you today. We're going to have part one of a two-part show where we're going to look at our president, Mr. Obama. We're going to talk a lot about Mr. Obama. I've got a stack here, pretty thick of his votes in the Senate. I've got some nice information on him. We took an honest look, folks. We took an honest look. It's not all bad. Not all bad. Anyway, I want to let you guys know I am really, really excited to be getting the emails that you're sending. We've got several regular emailers. We have some occasionals, and we want more. We want you. Don always gives us some great feedback. Tony wanted to discuss illegals. John sent me info about some show ideas. Lots of positive feedback. Several people that don't agree. That's okay. I know I don't have the ever-popular Massachusetts view on politics, but that's okay. Give it to me anyway. One thing I can tell you, if you email me, I will get back to you. And I do appreciate that you watch the show. So thanks to everybody. Keep on sending them. Don't forget you can follow us at the Freedom Network on Twitter. And you can, of course, watch us right here or online. So you got lots of ways to contact and get involved with us. My name again, Gary Rosenberg, here with you for part one of a little closer look of our president. So, who is this guy? I mean, that's got to be the burning question that we want to answer first before we try to dissect what he's all about. I think we got to learn a little bit about him. We got to go back a little bit, see what his bio is and what may have formed and shaped the opinions that he has today, because that's the way it is with all of us. I mean, we all come from somewhere. Our opinions are shaped, whether we like it or not, by people that we're around. We grow, we change our opinions, and usually find our own way. Not always so far from what you come from, but sometimes doesn't resemble. So what's interesting is that he was born in 1961. Obviously, we know he's the 44th president of the United States. He's born in Hawaii. Now, look, I thought about going there, okay, with the whole birth certificate and all this kind of stuff. You know what? You've seen it. I've seen it. We've all seen the evidence. We've all looked at the controversies surrounding the subject, in, out, up, and down. We could probably do an entire show just on that one topic. I think there's some validity to the questions. What gets me a little bit upset, to be quite honest with you, is the indignation that we shouldn't question him that you get from the left. Because let's face it, what he's shown is not what you could show, okay? Or most of you. That's a fact. You look back, and we're going to talk about colleges and all this stuff. He doesn't have a lot of corroboration for his past. Doesn't mean that it's not true. But as the president, don't get mad at me if I decide I might want to ask about your past. His mother was from Kansas, his father from Kenya. They divorced, and mom brought the little baby to Seattle. Little baby Obama. She met somebody from Indonesia, and off they went to Indonesia. Of course, they took the baby. The baby is Barack. Barack went to school in Indonesia from ages 6 to 10. Now, I talked about formulation of who you are, values, and things of that nature. I'm going to say that being 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old are pretty formative years. The fact that those years were spent outside of America, some say gives him a wonderful outlook on global issues and on the world. But you know what? I want some confidence, conceitedness. We're the best in my president. I don't want a balanced approach. I want an approach that favors America. He's not the president of the world. He's the president of the United States. In 1971, Barack returns to Honolulu, lives with his maternal grandparents. One was a member, well, let's see. He was a member of this thing they called the Chum Gang. I don't know quite how to pronounce it. This was a bunch of kids that got together and did drugs. Yeah, they smoked weed, they did cocaine. He's admitted this. I give him credit for admitting. I do. At least, Bill Clinton, I didn't inhale. Come on, Bill. Bill was so full of it. We could do a show on Bill, too. Because there's a guy that was really full of it. Did a far superior job, especially economically, at running the country. One of the things Bill Clinton understood that Obama doesn't is sometimes you got to get out of the way, and you're not the answer to every problem. So he had that at least in him. Anyway, another show. So what happens is now he moves again. All right, he goes in 1979, moves to L.A. Okay, so he's in L.A. He's doing his thing, but in 81 he takes a trip to Indonesia with his mom and his sister. He visited Pakistan. He visited India. Later that year, he transferred to Columbia and moved again to New York. Man, this guy got around, right? I mean, he's all over the place. I don't know what the heck he was doing traveling around those countries. He's got family. He's got, friends, I'm sure, interests. So he wants to go visit. I'd really particularly rather my president wants to go to Topeka, Kansas to visit some long-lost friends. But hey, I guess Pakistan and those areas are good enough too. He graduated with a BOA in 83 from Columbia. A few years working at the Business International Corporation and the New York Public Interest Research Group. Then he moves again. Now, I don't understand why someone would have to keep on moving around. Generally speaking, you have, a few jobs in life. You maybe move around a little bit. From what I saw online, it didn't seem as though he was moving around so much because he was in demand. It seemed more that he was moving around because either he wasn't able to get the control that he wanted where he was working, wasn't able to get the pay, which is a valid reason. But I also, in reading some interviews with other people that worked in these areas, he wasn't so much the most open-minded, transparent guy. Funny how that's what he ran on. In Chicago, he gets hired as the director of the Developing Communities Project. Now, we know that he spent a lot of time in Chicago, and he spent a lot of time as a community organizer. And that's why Chicago is such a wonderful city today, where the death rate is among the lowest in the entire nation, and it's just a peachy place to live. Right, come on. They've got the worst statistics on crime, murder, and all this other stuff. But he was there. He was there to put the building blocks, the foundation, in place for today's Chicago. From 85 to 88, he was a community organizer. Whatever the heck that means. What that means, I don't know. You're a community organizer. What do you do as a community organizer? Why does the community need to be organized? What is it that they're doing? What is it that they need to do? If it's an average community as far as income and housing and education, the community needs to be organized to I guess, improve these things. It just seems to me that we have a lot of talk when they say community, what they usually mean is inner city, right? We have a lot of talk, but we don't have a lot of action. There are a lot of really good leaders and really good people that live in the inner cities, and let me tell you, I know a lot of them, okay? I've spent a lot of time in the inner cities in this area in my life, years. And I'm going to tell you flat out, the people that made the difference never wanted any accolades, never wanted anything except for the community to be better. And you could tell a mile away when someone was there for themselves, like Jesse Jackson. You think Jesse Jackson really, really cares? Maybe he did at some point, but that's all gone out the window. Martin Luther King Jr. cared. He had an agenda. He was a community organizer that you could look up to. He was organized, first of all. He had a mission. He knew what he wanted, and he went after it, tooth and nail. And we got it. But you've got people like you look into Obama's community organizing history, there's no real substance. Yeah, he brought a lot of people to the table. Yeah, he brought an affordable housing bill into the city. He did bring work. There were things that he did, but the substance, the longevity of it was nothing. It wasn't about plans for sustained growth. It was about, let me get this headline. Let me get these people in here to work. And if I can get these people to work, then they can say, look what I did. Because that's what he's done as a pattern. They're very easy to look all this stuff up, folks. We at the Freedom Network always tell you do your homework. Go online and look it up. You don't have to go to these far out websites and all this stuff. Go to CNN and to Fox News. You can find whatever you want on CNN. You just have to dig for it. We did a whole show about the media bias. You can even go to MSNBC and you can dig and find, because they catalog so much facts. It's just when you get into the writing, you've got to see the twist. And the twist is off the hook when it comes to this guy. But at the end of the day, we're not talking about long-term sustainable growth or help for the community that he spent years in. And there's proof to that. Look at it today, folks. Look at it today, right now. What does it look like in Chicago? What does it look like for murder rate, unemployment? Hey, you're not moving there, are you? In mid-'88, he went back to Kenya for 5 weeks. He has since been to Kenya to visit relatives in '92 and again in '06. 5 weeks in Kenya is a long time, all right? I don't know what he does when he goes on these traveling things. I guess he's, you hope for the best. He's going to visit family, friends. But these times from when he was a child, and you say, well, what is the big deal? He's only there from this is what people say to me. Well, he was only there for a few years, and that wasn't really where his development was, and it wasn't until he came back to his typical white grandmother, his quote, to live, that then he started to build who he was in his character. That must have been, and in several years he'll meet Jeremiah Wright, his preacher, who will say to, damn America and the rest of it. You've heard it 100 times. But I don't know what he keeps going back to Kenya for. If the impact of just a few years is so little. Because if it was so little, why would he go back again and again? I mean, this president behaves with his traveling for personal reasons through his life like he's got a real connection to Kenya, Indonesia, Pakistan. We don't know where he went when he was in Kenya for 5 weeks. I couldn't find that out. I could find it out about his other trips, but the trip in mid-'88, when he went to Kenya, I can't find out anything except for the fact that he went. Why? In any event, in 1988, he goes off to Harvard. I mean, this guy is a man on the move, okay? He is a man with a mission to really ruin America. He became the editor of the Harvard Law Review. Now remember, we went over all that stuff about the media. That was Harvard that gave us that information. He graduated in '91, and back to Chicago he goes. Okay. All right. So let's pause for a minute. Let's just take a second here and think about that, okay? So far, he spent time around the world, and a lot of people look at that as a positive thing. And if you look at the reasons that people may go around the world for education and a better life and better schooling and all this kind of stuff, that's why Obama came to America. That's why he came back. Why do you think he came back to America when he was living out of the country? Why? Because it's better here. And you know what? I'm not going to be afraid to say it here on the Freedom Network. America's better. Oh, you can't say America's better. How do you quantify what's better? How do you really, let me talk to you about this percent and that percent and this, blah, 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 blah. We wouldn't have all the illegal immigrants here. We wouldn't have people like Obama and his family that were here, we'll give it, were born here, and then left, and then came back. They wouldn't all be here if it wasn't better. Fact is fact. If you have this huge disdain for this country, even under Barack Obama, it's not bad enough for me to want to leave it. I almost consider it a duty to try to save it, as should you. So, in 1996, he's elected to state senator, Illinois, 13th district. He was reelected in 98 and 02 for the Senate seat. So he's a state senator in 1996. He did run, incidentally, and he lost for a U.S. Congress seat, okay, and that was in 2000. He was beat by a 2-1 margin in his own party. He wasn't even a contender. In 03, he becomes chairman of the Illinois Senate Health Care and Human Services Committee. He gets elected in 04 to the U.S. Senate. Okay, so state senator from 97 to 04. Okay, 05 to 08, he's a U.S. senator. Do the math. I was told this was the most qualified guy for the job. Okay? I was told this is a very intelligent man. I was told that this is a man that will bring race together. I was told that this is a guy that will get us out of these costly wars that we're in, that he'll close Guantanamo Bay, that he will restore the love and envy of America around the world. He will bring countries together. He will move mountains as the holy man that he was proposed to be to us. He will get all this done because he's experienced, because he knows what he's doing, because he gets it. And you don't get it, and Bush don't get it, and nobody gets it. No one is smart as this guy is the smart. This is what we were told day in, day out. ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, a variety of newspapers. This is the guy you got to vote, not Hillary Clinton. Don't vote for Hillary. I mean, the press turned on her in a New York second. Okay, let's not vote for Hillary Clinton. You know what, we liked her in the beginning a little bit, but we see an opportunity here as the press that we can elect our first Afro-American president. You know what? Americans don't care. We've proven that we don't care. We have a checkered past. Every country does. We want to move forward with it, right? We want to go on with it. So we start to think as a country, well, maybe this is true. I mean, obviously, race relations can't be that bad before he's in office if he's able to get in office. Because if the country was just full of people that were bigoted, then he never would have won in the first place to come in and to fix it. We're worse off now with race relations than we were 10 years ago. Where is it better? We had the Bear Summit. We did have a Bear Summit, so that's going to go real far. It's out of control to think that way, and people don't want to talk openly about it, but we do here on the Freedom Network. We talk openly about stuff, and we get your feedback, and we enjoy your feedback. We aren't swayed by any feedback. You can call and tell me whatever you want. You can email me anytime, anything. And I will listen and read your points, but I'll respond and let you know what I think, because that's important. It's important to the cause of freedom, which is why we're on the Freedom Network. This flag means something to me. This flag, what it stands for and the symbolism behind that flag, and the people that have died protecting, they say protecting the flag. Folks, they're not protecting the flag, okay? They're protecting what it means, what it stands for, what it represents. And that's America. And that's America being great. That's America helping the world. That's America doing what's right, being the good guys. That's what it stands for. It stands for America making the most enjoyable, comfortable, wonderful country in the world. We have way too many poor people in America, but as Barack Obama can tell you himself, we have got the richest poor people in the world. Okay? And that's a fact. That's not my feeling. That's a fact. As I always say, look it up. It's different when you live in a hut in Kenya than when you live in the slums in Chicago. It's different. It's different when you don't have an EBT card to go get some food. America provides a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and a great existence. That's why we love it. That's why so many of us, hey, look, I wasn't a Clinton guy, all right? I'm sure you guys know that all by now. Yeah, the economy was great, but I'm not just motivated by money. If you are, then you must have loved Ronald Reagan because the economy was great during Reagan. But I don't find that a lot. But in the end of the day, at the end of the day, folks, we've got a guy, okay, that spends time traveling around the world, worked as a community organizer, and went to a bunch of schools. That's what we have. I mean, I'm looking and I'm wondering what's happening. But from 2005 to 2008, he's a U.S. senator. So from 97 to 08, 9 years, this guy is a state senator. Which, sorry, state senators, but you know what? State senators don't become presidents for a good reason. And he was a U.S. senator for a couple of years, just a few years. But the media told me that this guy is the most qualified guy. He is the guy that's going to do it all because he's got the experience and he knows the people and he knows about communities and he knows about... No, he doesn't. Because if he did, we'd be in a better spot. We'll continue with the story in just a minute. We'll take a quick break, check something really cool out, and be right back.
Well, hello, America. And this is a question I want you to ask yourself. Did he keep his promise? There's really only one thing that we have that will save us, and that is honor, the truth. The truth shall set you free. That's what I think people were looking for when they said they wanted change in Washington. They wanted somebody just to tell them the truth. Well, let's look at some of these things. First, the American people have said no to health care. Even the people in Massachusetts that have this kind of health care say it doesn't work. Well, Obama said again yesterday that he's going to try to push health care through anyway. Why? Well, it's the progressive mentality, and we're going to get into a little bit of that maybe hopefully tomorrow. But part of that is that they can gain the power they need to control every aspect of your life. They are now controlling the message. I want to ask you, did he keep his promise? Look at the message that he has been giving us. This was critical to so many people. What was the message that he has been giving us on health care in the past? Watch.
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan.
No matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or health care plan, you can keep it. Under the reform we seek, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Got it. Okay. You know, that second before last one, he said, no matter what you've heard, he was really referring to people like me. Because at that time, they were calling us liars. Oh, that's not in there. Of course, you're going to be able to, stop the fear-mongering. I want you to listen carefully to what he said just a couple of days ago. Listen carefully.
You know, we said from the start that it was going to be important for us to be consistent in saying to people, if you can have if you want to keep the health insurance you got, you can keep it. That you're not going to have anybody getting in between you and your doctor in your decision making. And I think that some of the provisions that got snuck in might have violated that pledge.
Wow. I mean, we could do an hour just on this. Tonight, I want you just to carefully focus in on what he was saying. It's not just a broken promise. Look at this. I want to show you the full quote here. We said from the start, now listen, this is a guy who's just been, somebody snuck in that you're not going to be able to get your doctor. And he promised you, don't listen to those crazy people, you're going to do it. This is his response. We said from the start that it was going to be important for us to be consistent in saying to people that you can have it if you want to keep your health insurance you got, you can keep it. You're not going to have anybody getting in between you and your doctor decision making. You got it? This wasn't just a broken promise. It was a careful unveiling of the truth. We have said from the start that it was going to be important for us to say This is a glimpse to their inside conversations. And let me ask you this. When you get down to this line, and I think some of the provisions that got snuck in might have violated that pledge. We're not talking about a little pledge. We're talking about you being able to keep your doctor. You decide. Did he keep his promise? Keep your doctor. He just said no. If that would have passed, you would have lost your doctor. Gitmo. Did he do that?
We then provide the process whereby Guantanamo will be closed no later than 1 year from now.
Still open. That turned into a debacle. Barack Obama wasn't going to conduct business the way George W. Bush did. He made that promise. Watch this.
He's been saying, well, I can basically change what Congress passed by attaching a letter saying, I don't agree with this part or I don't agree with that part. I'm going to choose to interpret it this way or that way. That's not part of his power. But
He's right.
This is part of the whole theory of George Bush, that he can make laws as he's going along.
He's right.
I disagree with that.
He's right.
I taught the Constitution for 10 years. I believe in the Constitution, and I will obey the Constitution of the United States. We're not going to use signing statements as a way of doing an end run around Congress.
Got it? No signing statements. Here's a constitutional lawyer. He's very clear here. I taught the Constitution. He's right about George W. Bush. It's not within his power. Shouldn't be done. Progressives do that. Well, you didn't like it and I didn't like it. No signing statements. What happened? What happened to the I will obey the Constitution and we're not going to use signing statements? Why would he violate his word so quickly? Because, as Saul Alinsky said, the ends justify the means. It doesn't matter. Just get it done. Watch this. See if you recognize. I'm just compare and contrast here. Here's FDR, another huge progressive, 1933.
If we cannot do this one way, we will do it another. But do it, we will.
Got it? Can't do it the one way? We'll do it another, but we're going to do it. Watch this from the State of the Union, just, what was it, last week?
That's why I've called for a bipartisan fiscal commission. Yesterday, the Senate blocked a bill that would have created this commission. So I'll issue an executive order that will allow us to go forward, because I refuse to pass this problem on to another generation of Americans.
But do it, we will. Finally, there's Pelosi on this case. The American people have made it clear we don't want health care. But do it, we will. What has she just said?
We go through the gate's closed, we'll go over the fence is too high, we'll pole vault in. If that doesn't work, we'll parachute in, but we're going to get health care reform passed for the American people, for their own personal health and economic security.
Whatever. What happened to the Constitution? After opposing the Bush surveillance programs, he retained them. The Bush tribunal system for detainees, he preserved it. I don't even have these on the board. Not long ago, after violating his no lobbyists working in the White House pledge, this one killed me, no lobbyists working there. He brought, how many did we count the other day? 30? He had the audacity to bring up the lobbyist thing in the State of the Union.
That's why we've excluded lobbyists from policy-making jobs or seats on federal boards and commissions.
He's got 30 in his administration. Now, we just showed you some of these lobbyists the other day. I don't know if we have pictures of them. Yeah, here, this is me showing them. Okay? He repeated, after this, the non-existent fantasy figure of 2 million jobs created or saved. This was during the address again. Then he went further, saying that he was on track for another $1.5 million this, or 1.5 million jobs this year. First of all, understand this. Look it up. There is no metric measuring any kind of statistic like that. There's no measurement. Now, his own website claims that there were 650,000 jobs. Here it is, 650,000 jobs created or saved. Valerie Jarrett said thousands and thousands. It wouldn't be a surprise to me if I hear, Robert Gibbs today say, oh, billions of jobs have been created. It's a game. That goes really to the openness and transparency, the game. I mean, how are we supposed to, wouldn't it be nice, how refreshing it would be to actually get a glimpse into how our government solves problems or writes bills. At least 8 times he said that C-SPAN would broadcast the proceedings of congressional negotiations with health care. None of them have occurred. None of it. It's been closed-door, backroom, bribing process from the beginning. You know it and I know it. When running for office, this man pledged that he would end, and I looked at this tape today, I couldn't believe he actually said this, but he did. He said that he would end the war in Iraq by last year. Watch this.
We have to begin a phased withdrawal, have our combat troops out by March 31st of next year.
But I want to make sure that we get all our combat troops out as quickly as we can safely. Now, the estimates are maybe that's 2 brigades per month. At that pace, it would be sometime in 2009.
I opposed this war in 2002. I will bring this war to an end in 2009. It is time to bring our troops home.
I think it's 2010 and they're still there. When he announced the spending freeze at the State of the Union, there was an audible gasp, mocking from Congress. I've never seen anything like it. The AP now has pointed out that it will save less than 1% of the predicted deficits over the next 10 years. Let me show you this. We try to make this demonstration with water bottles. Here and underneath the table are 100 water bottles. The estimated savings on the deficit over the next 10 years is this much water. Refreshing, isn't it? They're lying to you. Democrats, please, we're running out of time here.
For them somehow to suggest that we're interjecting race as a consequence of a statement she made that we haven't commented on is pretty hard to figure out.
I've long known the Clintons to be very good and decent people, particularly on the issue of race. But for their surrogates to say the sorts of things that we've heard repeatedly from Billy Shaheen, from Mark Penn, from Bob Kerrey, and now yesterday from Bob Johnson, really is disappointing. And then when the Clintons themselves have said some things that were intentionally or not widely construed as being somewhat insensitive, and then to turn and accuse the Obama campaign of playing the race card, it all really strains credulity. And
questioning continues with Tim Ruster.
In terms of accountability, Senator Obama, Senator Clinton on Sunday told me that the Obama campaign had been pushing this storyline. And true enough, your press secretary in South Carolina, 4 pages of alleged comments made by the Clinton people about the issue of race. In hindsight, do you regret pushing this story?
Well, not only in hindsight, but going forward. I think that, as Hillary said,
For them somehow to suggest that we're interjecting race as a consequence of a statement she made that we haven't commented on is pretty hard to figure out.
Questioning continues with Tim Ruster.
In terms of accountability, Senator Obama, Senator Clinton on Sunday told me that the Obama campaign had been pushing this storyline. And true enough, your press secretary in South Carolina, 4 pages of alleged comments made by the Clinton people about the issue of race. In hindsight, do you regret pushing this story?
well, not only in hindsight, but going forward. I think that, as Hillary said,
Welcome back. Always something interesting to take a peek at on here, you know. We're talking about our wonderful president and all his glory. We're just trying to get some background on him. And this is a 2-part show where we're just going to kind of look at him, see what he's all about. I expect a lot of feedback. Again, bring it to me. It's timogary@gmail.com. Get it to me. Follow us on Twitter. Tim puts up all the information on the screen for you, so don't worry, you don't have to go run and get a pen. In 1996, he being Barack Hussein Obama, is elected state senator, Illinois' 13th district, right? So in 96, he gets, I just want to make sure I get my timeline right here. So we really have a guy that just doesn't have a whole lot of experience. What's so interesting to me, though, and this is really interesting to me, he has the billing of the Messiah. He has the information going out from the media that this is the guy you've got. The media is so powerful, okay? I am no fan of Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, I have some disdain for her, especially over the Benghazi incident that we will cover one of these days. But she was so much more qualified, just as a human being, to be the president. This guy has... What budget did he make before he got in? I'm going to go over some votes. Let me tell you something. He votes for every time you want to spend any damn money, he's voting for it. Anytime you want to save someone any money, he ain't voting for it. I can't find any meaningful work that he did. I can't find any meaningful work that he did. Unless the meaningful work is being a small-based, homegrown, community person that doesn't have national experience, that doesn't have the ability to deal with even running a small business of 1,000 employees, never mind an entire country, but yet at the same time, a highly valued community organizer that loves to do what he does so much that he would never want to do anything else. Those are the people that make differences in communities. Those are the people. And I know them. And that's why they do it. They do it because they love the communities they're in. They want to see them prosper and get better. And those are the communities that you see get better. Those are the communities that make a difference, where people make a difference. And they get programs together and they help kids and they do the right thing. This is noble. What he did is not noble. There's nothing that he accomplished that you can point to. Now, you could go and say, look at Chicago. Look at his district in Chicago. Look at the growth and the poverty that's been wiped out and the inspirations that this guy has given to a community. But you can't, because it's a hellhole in there. That's why you can't. I started looking up his area. I was going to bring in some pictures and stuff like that. I didn't do it. It's too depressing. This place is in the dump. So I wanted to poke through his Senate career. I wanted to look at some votes. And I wanted to go over kind of where he stands on some issues. At the same time, I'm going to have you understand that there's no way that we can go through every vote, okay? Nor is there any way that we can analyze every bill, because these bills are very wordy, they're very long, and this would be a 20-hour show. As it is, it's going to be a two-parter. But I'm going to go through a couple of things and talk about some of them at length, and some I'm just going to roll right through. If you have any questions on any of them, or what they were actually called or anything, I will definitely be saving this stack. And you can email me at timmcgarry@gmail.com. And what I'll do is I'll send you the link, and you can look up the bill for yourself. Because that's what we are here. We're interactive. We want to interact with you here on the Freedom Network. Okay, here we go. These are in somewhat of an order. That's the best I can do. All right, I try to sort them by order. There's a ton of them, okay? Well, these are votes that came up while he was in office. I shouldn't say he voted for all of them, but we'll get to that, or on all of them. Let's go back to 2005, okay? We're going to go back into March 2005. I'm not going to give you every date. I'm going to make this as painless as possible, but it's important that you get a feeling for how this guy voted, because we weren't told this stuff when he was running for office, because he was protected by the media. He was the man. They made a decision, and they put him in office. The propaganda machine is what put him in office. The fact that the country was so aggravated with George Bush, and they were so sick and tired of what was going on as far as the big picture, that they let themselves be swayed. We didn't have a great candidate. We haven't had a great candidate on the right for a while. So this is what happens. We get stuck with this. Budget, fiscal year 06 appropriations resolution, he votes against it. Homeland Security grant program, votes for it. Medicaid amendment, votes against it. These are all in 05. Native American funding, yup. Prescription drug amendment, yup. National Arctic Wildlife Refuge drilling amendment, yes. So why then you talk about Mitt Romney being a flip-flopper? Bankruptcy reform bill, votes nay. You know, that was back in 05. There's been a lot of talk about bankruptcy. In some cases, people feel it may be too easy. In others, maybe they feel it's too hard. The interesting thing, though, is that this bill passed the Senate, 74 to 25. Okay? 74 to 25 means you had a lot of bipartisanship in there. So I wasn't quite sure on that one, why he wanted to vote against that. Because there was a lot of people on, from his camp that were all about this. Violent protester amendment, he goes for. Minimum wage amendment. This is not going to be the first time this comes up, folks. No. He votes nay on the minimum wage amendment. Although now he tells me I got to raise the minimum wage to bail his butt out because he's got nobody working because he feels that he's the only thing that can stimulate jobs. And I know I have friends out there and you say, but Gary, this is what it is. The government always stimulates growth and it always stimulates jobs. But you know what? It stimulates it, people. Not by taking over companies, for crying out loud. It stimulates it by investing in technology. We went and any major thing that we've done, of course governments play a major role. They play a huge role in the economies, okay? And in America, the government's always played a role in our economy. I'm not saying that we don't need to have a government. What I'm saying is that we need a responsible government. We pay, on a sidebar, $100,000 a year for dog trainers for the White House. Okay? That's a fact. We pay over $1 million a year for door openers around, many coming from the United Nations. This, okay? $1 million. We pay tons of money, 7 figures, for on-call doctors for these kings and queens that we seem to have in Washington. You want to talk about the sequester and about minimum wage and about spending appropriations? Give me the budget. I'll find you $85 billion in there that you can cut out. Just like that. I won't touch one program. But I'm not going to have 15 staffers running around every office. The duplication that we have in government. Why isn't Obama talking about that? Because he's so smart. He doesn't see it. He doesn't see it because he ain't smart enough to see it. He doesn't see it because he doesn't want to stop the machine. And these votes are going to show you that he votes for the machine all the time. He then votes for a minimum wage amendment. Okay? He does this on the same day. Okay? The one that he voted against was not passed. The one he voted for was passed. So in 2005, this guy is a brandy spanking new senator, right? So what that means is that he got his marching orders and he went and voted the way he was supposed to vote until then they could amend it and change it and do what they needed to do. Because in 2005, this man that's so independent and stands up and knows everything in the world, trust me, did not go into the Senate and start to rewrite history. Very liberal senator. And he was that way because he was told to be that way, and he caved right in. Class action fairness, he votes for. He votes against Gonzalez for the Attorney General. He votes for Condoleezza Rice. That was a with Bush vote. If you're a Democrat, don't get upset. I told you. He did do the right thing a few times. Nothing wrong with Condoleezza. Environmental effects caused by ethanol amendment. He votes against it, folks. It had to be tabled. They didn't bring the vote to conclusion. He votes for judges like this, okay? Right along party lines. You're a conservative judge? Then that's it. You're a conservative judge, he votes nay. You're a liberal judge, he votes yay. That's 100% of the time that I've been able to look up what he's got for votes on judicial type of things. What else we got here? Priscilla Owen, Fifth Circuit, nay. Priscilla Owens, Fifth Circuit, yay. Interesting. Did that within 2 days. I thought that Mitt Romney was a flip-flopper. I thought that he was a flip-flopper and that Obama was so steadfast. Well, we can't, and he said the same thing about McCain. We don't know unless we go and look it up ourselves, because the media certainly isn't going to report it to you. He votes for the Transportation Authorization Bill, Supplemental Emergency Appropriations Act 2005. I won't explain to you what that is. It was a 100-0 vote. You look it up if you don't know what that one is. Budget, fiscal year 06 appropriations resolution, votes nay. But they adopted it. Emergency supplemental appropriations, yay. Future military funding for Iraq amendment, April 18th, 2005, didn't vote. Well, if it was so damn important to get everybody out of Iraq, and if the war and everything was so unjust, why wouldn't you have voted no? You know why you don't vote no? Because you don't want to vote against it, because then you're voting against the military, you're voting against, and this wouldn't be good. This guy's all politics. The problem with him is that he's not like Slick Willie. He's not Bill Clinton. He can't pull it off. Well, he can't in my eyes, and he shouldn't be able to in yours either. He didn't vote, folks, for the future military funding for Iraq. Wimp. That's what that is. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out is what it is. And the fact that he was so steadfast against all of this, he didn't want to go to any war with anybody. He didn't want any of this. He didn't want anyone to pay for 9/11. Tax subsidy for domestic companies. He votes for it. He doesn't like loopholes, but he's voting for tax subsidies. Unintended pregnancy amendment, he's good with. Education amendment, good, yes. All kinds of education stuff on this list. Folks, there's a lot of education stuff on the list. And you would think that, and as we go through, you'll see there's even more education stuff. How the heck can you put all this money into education with your amendments, your plans, actually not yours, because he doesn't sponsor anything, he just votes on it, but your stuff, Barack, and they've done nothing since 05 when these votes were enacted. They did nothing. So to put this money into all these things meant nothing. Or we wouldn't be looking for more now. It's not that long ago. Money doesn't fix problems. Proper management fixes problems. But you don't know that because you've never been a manager. Corporate financing of terrorism amendment, he was okay with that. Defense Department, fiscal year 06, authorization bill. Nope. That time he got some guts. Foreign operations, appropriations bill. Yep, he went with that one. There's so much stuff on it. Detention bed increase amendment. He voted no. Fair to say that it got rejected. So far, everything I've told you he's voted no on, about 75% of it passed anyway. U.S. Agency for International Development amendment. He voted against it. We don't want to develop anything internationally. You know why? It was probably proposed by a Republican. Because you know he'd jump at the chance to send any kind of money anywhere he could. We'll go through a few more of these. We'll pick them up on the other side, I promise. We'll pick them up on our next show. And I'll tease my next show. I got a nice stack of Obama lies to go over. Blatant lies that we can find. Just searing right out in there. I'll tease you with that. That's next week, though. Here's an interesting one. He votes against John Bolton, which we talked about, okay? He votes for the reduction in dependence on foreign oil. He votes for this bill. You look at it on a list, you'd say, well, that's good, but it was rejected in the Senate. You know why it was rejected in the Senate? Because to reduce the dependence on foreign oil, they wanted to invest all kinds of money into solar stuff like Solyndra. You ever hear of Solyndra? Look up Solyndra. Get on your iPads and your laptops and all that. Go look up Solyndra. See how good that worked out for us. He's going to vote to reduce our dependence on foreign oil by investing in companies that, but again, you can't, see folks, you can't expect him to understand how to pick a good company to invest in because he doesn't understand business. He doesn't understand it. If he hasn't worked in business. He sat at a table, is what he did, and he brought some people together, and how can we make this better? And he felt real good about himself when he went home because he was furthering his career. He was furthering his ambitions. Low-income home energy assistance program, good to go. Pell Grant increase, good to go. Transportation, good to go. Spend it, baby. I mean, we ain't got it, but you can spend it. Congressional pay raise amendment. This was in October. He votes for it. You know, I think this was, if I am correct, I messed my papers up a little bit here, but I'm pretty sure that this was the one that they decided where they would get automatic increases so that they didn't have to vote on it all the time, because every time they vote on it, people get upset because they make more than we do, and they're like the ruling class, and we're just a little old faithful here just doing our thing. It amazes me. It does amaze me. The amendment was adopted 92-6. 92-6. Don't think if you sit as a registered Republican that your people ain't all wet too, because they are. I'm one. I'm definitely a registered Republican, and I know you may think I'm all wet on some stuff, but you know what? I'm a conservative living in a really left-wing state, okay? So my answer to that is I register Republican. I've said this before. If I lived outside of this state, I might register independent. But I don't ever want to be counted on any robocalls, mailing lists, nothing like that. I don't want to be called or ever taken for a minute that I might go out and vote for one of these Democrat bozos that are in this state. We'll get a few maybe on the show. That would be fun. They never met a tax they didn't hike in this state, man. Never. Defense Department, 06, appropriations, he goes for it. Low-income home energy assistance, he goes for it. Health care for veterans, he goes for it. A lot of these. Hurricane Katrina Relief Amendment, he goes for it. Agriculture, Rural Development, and FDA Appropriations Act, he goes for it. Congressional Commission on Hurricane Katrina, he goes for it. I mean, do we need a commission? This is the money I'm talking about, right? This is what I mean. All of a sudden, something happens, and we need a commission with budgets and offices and this and that, because we got to study and we got to find out. You don't have to study. You don't have to study. Just watch the events unfold. Use common sense. Make corrections. How many millions of dollars does it take to get a study to tell you that we screwed up? We all knew it. Oh, folks, you got me going now. Now I'm going strong. Okay. We're going to come back. I'm going to leave off right here so I'll know my spot. Okay? For next week, we're going to continue through this, but we're going to pepper in a whole lot of nice Obama lies and comments, questions from folks that are out there. Make sure you get them in. We'll answer them on the follow-up show. We want you to get all the information first. Don't forget, follow me on Twitter. Email me, Tim or Gary, gmail.com. I love to get the feedback. Folks, the whole point of the Freedom Network is this, okay? You have somebody up here barking and screaming. I understand that. That's what I do. I'm very opinionated. I try to bring facts and research stuff. We do the best that we can. There's a lot of stuff out there to look at. We want and encourage opinions from you. I honestly don't care as much whether you agree or disagree with me. I care that you're involved. I care that you're willing to take the steps to look at things realistically, to find your own news, And don't rely on these sheep herders, if you will, to take an honest look at it. I can stand here and tell you flat out that in my party, there's a ton of them I don't agree with. There's a lot of them I don't like, okay? You don't find that on the other side. You're a left-wing liberal, man, you'll follow these people to hell. And that's the problem. So if you have a tinge of, hey, maybe, just maybe, he might have a point, then look it up, find your own facts, do your own thing, and make it happen. And let me know about it. Send it to the Freedom Network. Bring us your information. Okay? It's very, very important. So it's the Freedom Network on Twitter. It's timagary@gmail.com. Again, thanks for the feedback we've been getting. It's wonderful. It's informative. And I read them all and respond to them all, beginning to end. Okay? I do not read 2 sentences and move on. So folks, I'm Gary Rosenberg. I'm signing off for today on the Freedom Network, but I'll be back next week and we'll continue our discussion about Barack Hussein Obama.